Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, and thanks for listening. This is Moments of Clarity. I'm Tiffany Werner. I am a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And today, my special guest has not only been very patient with me, but finally we get him on the show. He's discussing child abuse, and he will be discussing his journey and what led him to write his book, When the Dust Settled, Between a Rock and a Hard Place. And he's also the NAASCA ambassador, advocate, motivational speaker, and pastor. And his book, When the Dust Settled, is a true story of a young child's struggle to survive in the world despite enduring many terrible circumstances. And I'm going to tell you, the book I have right here, it's a kind read, and it's kind of a trigger for some people that might be suffering from healing with past memories of child abuse. So just a disclaimer there, but I want to welcome to Moments of Clarity, Joe Potosi. Hi, Joe.
Hi. Hi, Tiffany. Excited to be here today.
Happy to have you here. Joe, you're also a TV show and radio podcast icon in the past.
Yes. Yes.
That's a curveball, huh?
Yeah.
No, but you've done a lot of great things to try to reach out and make good out of bad, and that's always, always very admirable. So you want to talk about a little bit about what you've gone through in the past that led you to your moment of clarity, so to speak, and what prompted you to write When the Dust Settled.
Okay, thank you very much. So the book covers an area or a time frame from the age around 3.5 to the age of 18. And from my earliest memories, my mother and father were very loving toward us kids, and I felt a lot of affection, and I just felt like I belonged. I felt like I was accepted. But that's the right word. But anyway, they got accepted into a rather new housing project in Rockford, Illinois, where I was born and raised. So we were able to move out of this apartment that was dilapidated, roaches, etc. We moved into this new place, and at this point in my life, I had a sister, 13 months my senior, and a baby brother, Marty, and my mother was pregnant with my brother, Greg. So once we got moved into this projects, my mom and dad befriended all these people in the neighborhood, and they all had a couple things in common. They all like to drink and do drugs, and practically every day, my mom and my dad and this man Tyrone would hang out, play cards, drink, etc., etc. The drinking continued and intensified, and me and my sister found ourselves caring for our baby brother because my mom was too busy partying and whatnot. And before long, my dad started leaving days on end and then weeks at a time. And then one particular day, he came home after being gone for a couple of weeks, grabbed his few belongings, and he had an Army duffel bag. I'll never forget that. And he left. And he went out the front door, and this guy, Tyrone, who would become my stepfather, came in the back door.
Oh, wow.
And
so that's kind of planned or something.
Right. And just over the next few weeks and months, my family, the whole thing, there was a huge shift. And the love that I received from my mother, the care, etc., all dissipated. And you see this man, Tyrone, I found out later in life, he befriended my father to get to my mother.
So you were, what, 6 years old, you said?
When he left, no, I was 3.
Oh, you're 3 years old. So your father left, and as he went out the front door, another man, Tyrone, went in the back door and became your stepfather shortly after. And you were only 3 years old?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I was a reminder to my mom and my stepfather of my dad. I looked like him, I talked like him, etc. And my 2 youngest brothers, as they continued to grow, they didn't know our father. They just knew this guy Tyrone as their father.
Mm-hmm.
But I would ask my mom practically every day, when's Dad coming home? You see, because since he had left and this new man came on the scene, we were treated, especially me and my sister, were treated with such disdain. They spewed evil on us. The partying intensified, and my stepdad, he was around 6'5". My mom 4'11". During our time in the projects, they would get drunk and fight, and he broke her jaw, broke her collarbone, ripped her face open.
So you witnessed a lot of domestic violence as well.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And, initially my mom blamed everything on my dad. The fact that we were poorer than dirt, the fact that we had no food, it was all his fault. But that shift started where he put the blame squarely on me and my sister. And so literally he would beat my mother would beat me. And oftentimes, I guess for his entertainment, when I would do something or say something wrong he didn't like, he took it out on me physically. And a day in the life of our childhood would have been like this. So, but I'm gonna speed up the story a little bit. So I started going to school, and we would meet with a group of other kids, me and my sister, and we would walk to school. The funny thing was, these other kids literally drug their feet getting to school, right?
Mm-hmm.
But not me. I would walk fast, or I would sometimes run ahead of the group. And you may say, why? Why would you run to school? Because at school I felt safe. I felt that I wasn't going to be beaten or locked in a room. I wasn't going to be threatened with my life. Those types of things. It was after school, when I had to go home, is when I dragged my feet. I really reluctantly went through that front door because, my mother would work second shift, sometimes third shift, and my stepfather did not work, so he would, during a nice time of the year, spring, summer, fall, he would be outside playing basketball or running the streets. Once we would get home from school, we were sent to the basement where we were locked in the basement until he saw fit to let us up. And when it came time for discipline, he had a few tools of the trade. One of those tools was he had a wooden paddle that he had drilled holes in, and he got to be the size of around 350 pounds, but he had a size like 44-inch waist, as I recall, and that was one of his favorite things. Or he had an iron cord, a cord from an iron, iron clothes. And it wasn't just a spanking on the butt. It was like he would just annihilate. He would just attack, totally destroy you. Hit you in the back of the head, the back, whatever. It was not fun whatsoever.
It wasn't fun. I can imagine.
So by the time I was in third grade, at this point, I discovered there was an after-school program at a local church, and my mom gave me permission to go. So I went to this after-school program, and there was two different clubs. And I would always try to find an excuse to stick around, help the ladies clean up after everyone else leaves, do whatever I could to not have to go home sooner than I had to. And these ladies, Mary and Helen and others, they just were so kind to us. They told us the story about God, and we felt safe there. There was structure, and it was something that I gravitated towards. So between school and this little club, life was bearable, if that makes sense. So my stepdad doesn't work. My mom works through temp services when she can or when she wants. The drinking continues, the abuse. It just escalates.
Hang on, Joe. I want to pause you right there. You have your caller waiting? You have your brother on the line. Welcome to Moments of Clarity.
Hey, thank you very much, Tiffany. Appreciate it.
Which brother is this?
I'm Greg.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for calling in and supporting Joe.
Well, thank you for supporting Joe.
Yeah. So did you have any feedback or something to add?
Well, I would just say that I'm younger than Joe, and he had a vision of experiences I didn't have. I was kind of born into that hell, and I didn't have that polarity. I didn't have anything to compare it to. And I often think, man, I'm kind of glad I didn't see my dad leave, because it was bad enough as it was, but to see that would have been awful. So,
right.
It was. I'm real proud of Joe. He showed a lot of courage. Working this stuff through. For when he was working on this transcript of this book for several years, I just thought, I don't know what the big deal is. I don't know what the big deal is. But the fact is, as I've gotten older, I see the wisdom and the hard work that he put in to kind of overcome some of that stuff. Because whether, adults and want to know it or not, if they grew up in trauma, it's going to have some kind of effect on their life and their relationships and the way they do things. And I've certainly seen that in my life. And so he's encouraged me to, do my own work in my own way.
Oh, yeah? How so?
Deal with that stuff. Well, I just blanked it all out. I just blanked it all out and just marched on. And just, I became hard. We were pressed up against something hard, and so I just pressed back harder. And it kind of, that was my survival mechanism. And that worked, oddly enough, in my career field of military and, other things with federal, law enforcement. But as I got older, I could just start seeing cracks in my own relationships and my own life, and a lot of them really go back to the stuff we went through as kids. It was horrible.
A lot of our problems in adulthood is stuff that happened in early childhood that hasn't been resolved or brushed under the rug or that we haven't healed from. And it stems into anxiety or fear of abandonment or fear of intimacy or all sorts of things, trust issues. And so it's really important to get treatment and get help for it.
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
It's a learned behavior, and we need to unlearn it, so to speak, because what happens to children is never okay, especially if it's abusive.
Never. Absolutely.
Never. And it's never their fault.
Absolutely. I thank God that out of all my siblings, none of that abuse never passed on to their kids,
Right.
And I think it was a miracle, because statistically, it's like genetics, behavior is genetic in a way, you know what I mean? It gets passed on generation after generation. So
sometimes.
All my siblings. Well, sometimes. I mean, I think more likely than not, unfortunately. And, I'm just proud of all my siblings, Joe in particular, for what a great father he is and how he kind of overcame all that stuff. And he got, awesome. I tell you, out of the boys, there's no doubt he got it the very, very worst. I think there was a lot of resentment and like a real hate towards him. It was kind of it's a sad narrative, but that's what it was.
And of course, it's probably well deserved in a sense, but we're going to get to that more. Joe, you have anything to say to your brother, Greg?
Well, Greg, I want to thank you for calling in, first of all. And I want to say, and I've said this to you in the past, that you became a father before I did. And I watched how you raised your child and how you interacted with her and the values you instilled upon her. And you were a role model and inspiration to me, man. Never, ever forget that. And you were in the trenches with me. You went through some very dark days and very, very tough times, but you persevered. You got through it. And that's a testament to you, man. You never gave up and you never quit. And you need to be proud of yourself for what you've accomplished in your career. And
absolutely.